Want to get more free traffic to your Shopify store from search engines like Google? If so, you're going to want to keep watching. In this video, my friend and Shopify SEO expert Kai Davis is going to be sharing his Shopify superpower of collections and how you can use them to get all that free traffic you've been craving from those shoppers in Google and other search engines. Kai is an e-commerce search engine optimization expert. He has more than a decade of experience and he's the founder of Double Your E-commerce, where he's helped more than 100 Shopify merchants expand their businesses. So let's get into it. So I hear that there is this sort of underrated secret when it comes to optimizing a Shopify store for SEO that not enough people are taking advantage of. So tell me more about it.
Of course, you have to promise to keep this one under wraps though. But what I find is Shopify stores aren't creating or optimizing enough collection pages. And collection pages are just such a dynamite way to reach your customers in the search results while they're searching for, transactional and categorical things that your shop carries. So if you create more category pages, more collection pages, you're going to rank higher and attract more customers to your store. The way you want to think about it is you want to rank your collection pages for different categorical terms. And so if you're selling, say, quilting panels, these are terms like notions or quarter panels. These are, groupings, categorical groupings of related products. If you're selling chocolate, these might be terms like chocolate truffles or chocolate bonbons or gourmet chocolate gift boxes. And if you're selling greeting cards, these might be terms like Mother's Day illustrated greeting cards or illustrated graduation cards. And again, they're all groupings, clusterings of related products. And I find it effective to sort of mix in the real world metaphor here. So when you set up a collection on your Shopify store or a category on another e-commerce platform like WooCommerce, Etsy, BigCommerce, whatever it might be, what you're kind of doing is creating a virtual aisle in your store. You're saying, okay, this is the digital space. This is where I'm putting all the chocolate bonbons or all the chocolate truffles, and I'm putting some content there. And you're making it easy for customers who say, I really want to buy some chocolate bonbons, to find that aisle. And maybe they use Google to just jump specifically to that aisle and not, wander in through the front door of your store. But it was sort of a lightning to the brain moment one day when I was like, oh, collections, they're like aisles. That's how we're grouping our products here. And it sounds silly, but that just helped me understand when we're creating new categorical pages, new collection pages to rank higher in Google, to bring in customers, it's valuable to think about it in terms of, what virtual aisles do I want to add to my store? What aisles are people searching for? What products are people searching for? And what content do I want to include in those aisles, like signage or collection descriptions, so they understand, this is what's included in that aisle, and this is why it's good for me. Collections rank very well for categorical terms on Shopify. What I do is sometimes just take a basket of keywords and I start searching in Google, and I just take categorical terms like I rattled off, quilting notions, quilting supplies, chocolate bonbons. And I just look to see, what's Google ranking for this query? Are they ranking product pages? Are they ranking collection pages or category pages? Or are they ranking something else like an article or a blog post? And what I found is more often than not, Google is ranking a collection page for this categorical term. And so it's to your advantage to set up more collection pages for your store and reach more people in the search results. So, if you run a chocolate store or a quilting supply store and you're like, I got one collection, Kai, it's called Shop, and everything's in there and we could find what we want. Yeah, you might be able to find it, but you aren't giving your customers what they're looking for, which is distinctive aisles with the grouped products that solve the problem they're looking to solve. And that problem might be, hey, I need a chocolate gift for my dad. Father's Day is coming up. Or it might be, hey, I need some quilting supplies. But these categorical terms, these collection pages, just group these products together, make it easier for your customers, and make it easier for Google to understand, this is the landing page we should show for that specific search result.
I think it's so important. And I think the analogy of an actual physical store is really helpful, whether it's the aisle or if you think about one of those big box stores like a TJ Maxx. I love going into TJ Maxx and just seeing what I can discover, right? But there's the different areas. There's like men's clothing, women's clothing, the housewares, kids, pets. There's all of these different areas, because if you just had, like you said, shop and that was the whole store, can you imagine walking into one of those stores and it would just be a nightmare, right? Like it would be so overwhelming. And I think the other thing about collections, I think with a lot of e-commerce, for individual product pages, you might have things that go out of stock, right? Either because maybe you're making handmade products and you make like limited edition things, or maybe things just get discontinued if you're selling products, made by another manufacturer. And so those individual product pages, they might not always exist, right? If things get discontinued or whatever. But all of the things within the collection page will probably be, you'll probably continue to put new products within that collection over time. So that page continues to kind of grow in strength from a search perspective, right?
You absolutely nailed it. That page sticks around. You're getting more links. Google is seeing that page over time, where it's a natural part of that e-commerce life cycle. You create products, the products go out of stock, the products retire, the products just sort of churn, and some end up 404ing. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. The collection page persists longer. You could start optimizing it more. And even if, you rotate the products in that collection completely 2 or 3 times a year, you still have that collection sticking around and ranking. And I'm happy you brought up TJ Maxx and big box stores, because it helps me bring in a comparison that I think is really useful. So oftentimes, myself included, when I think about like aisles in a store, I would have this limiting belief that, oh, each aisle should be unique. If I have an aisle of chocolate bonbons, that's where my bonbons are. But I was wandering around a big box store. It was Target in Eugene a couple months ago. And it just hit me while I was looking around. I think I was buying towels late at night. Oh, they don't have that limiting belief. They might have an aisle in the men's section with, let's just use the chocolate Father's Day gift example of the gift box of bonbons for Father's Day. But they also have that same product on an aisle, maybe in the mother's section for like, oh, are you searching for a gift for your husband or your child's father? They also have it in the candy section because, hey, are you looking for some chocolate? So it's the exact same product in these different areas. And I realized as you are creating new collections for your store, you might run into the opportunity where you say, oh, there's a couple different keywords here that are relevant. We run this chocolate store. We see people are searching for chocolate truffles, chocolate bonbons, and chocolate gifts. Well, we don't have a page for any of those terms, but well, truffles are kind of like bonbons and they're all kind of chocolate gifts. So aren't these the same products? Aren't we going to make Google angry if we create a page for each one of these? And what I've seen in my own SEO work and working with clients and studying SEO and Shopify stores is there isn't any penalty for that. If you created, 3 or 5 or 30 collection pages that target different terms, one, is chocolate truffles, one's bonbons, one's gifts, have a unique headline on each page, have a little bit of collection description content, but the exact same products in there, you end up ranking those collection pages for these different terms. And when we think about it, we start to see, oh, this is actually helpful for the visitor. Because if we just have a page up for chocolate truffles, but somebody's like, oh, I'm hankering for bonbons, I need some bonbons, and they keep searching in Google for bonbons. Well, if we don't have a page for bonbons, we're not going to be found. And so by setting up these separate collection pages, optimized differently, but populated with the same products, we're creating a larger number of these virtual aisles, making it easier for customers to find our store, find that specific aisle, and then start saying, oh, yeah, I want to order some of that. That looks delicious. But it comes down to opening your mind to sort of an abundant view of collections. We could have many collections on our store. They could be populated with the same 10 products, but that's what Google wants. Google wants these targeted landing pages. And that's what a collection page exactly is.
Collections are kind of the way within an e-commerce virtual store of doing merchandising, right? For a long time, I wanted to have my own brick and mortar store. I worked in retail for a long time. I did craft shows. And I recently posted a different video about craft show display tips and tricks with my friend Nicole Stevenson. She runs a big series of craft shows in California. Whether it's that in-person event or a craft show or brick and mortar, like you do visual merchandising and you might, like you said, have those products in different areas of the physical store, but you also need to think about how you translate that virtually. And collections are a big part of that, like helping people get to the products more easily.
Yeah, helping people. Merchandising is an area I haven't studied deeply, but I'm familiar with, and I'm happy you brought it up. It's sort of like the real world physical comparison to a lot of the digital work I do. But you're absolutely right. I view it through that lens of, it's helping that visitor. It's making it easier for that customer just to find that specific product that they're looking for. And you're right. It's like, hey, we set up an end cap over here and we set up a collection over here. We're just making sure we're surfacing it as they browse around the store.
So speaking of surfacing, as a SEO professional, you do search engine optimization for clients on their Shopify websites, right? So from that SEO perspective, with respect to these collections pages, what should people be doing to make sure that these collection pages are getting found in search engines like Google?
Great question. There's a bunch you could do to optimize your collections. I'm a big fan of what I've started calling collection SEO, just to differentiate it from, product SEO. And I wrote a guide on this. We'll include a link to it, my collection SEO guide on W e-commerce. But when you edit a collection page in Shopify, there's a bunch of different fields you could fill out. And I'm just going to call out a couple that are more high impact than not as you work on your collections, as you set up new collections, as you optimize existing collections, this is sort of the 80-20 walkthrough of the more impactful bits. You can optimize every single thing about a collection. And in my collection SEO guidebook, it'll tell you, these are the things that matter and these are the things that don't. But these are the 3 things that especially matter. So the first is, and this is the highest impact one, every Shopify store I work with, I'm like, please do this, is adding descriptions to your collection page. That's that little bit of content, 50 to 100 words, shows up at the top of that collection page. It's incredibly high impact for both your customers and for Google, because it just helps both the humans and the robots orient when they land on that page. If we have, a collection page without a collection description, you land there, it's a headline, and it's a product grid, and that's it. And you don't have a lot of context for like, okay, am I looking at chocolate truffles, chocolate bonbons? Am I looking at gifts? What exactly is here? And so when Google lands on that page, they likewise don't have a lot of context. They struggle to know, oh, we should rank this page on your site for this term. And so adding a collection description, again, just 50 to 100 words, doesn't have to be a ton, doesn't have to be an article, just has to be a short blurb, like what a salesperson would share with somebody. They walked into your brick and mortar store and were like, hey, what's on that aisle? You'd be like, it's a chocolate bonbons. You'll love them. They're delicious. Go check them out. Just has to be as simple as that. Helps humans in Google orient when they land on that page, gives Google more on-page content to find keywords in, and just helps these collection pages rank higher. I just worked with a client and we took them from, I want to say they were ranking 45th for like illustrated wedding greeting cards or illustrated wedding invitation cards to 3rd. And the only change we made, I was like, please, I beg of you, write me 50 words of content on this collection page. And they did. And I looked and I was like, okay, you went from 30 somethingth to 3 somethingth. This is wonderful. And I share that just as an example of like the collection description. It feels at times like an appendix, like it's just this tiny bit of text. How much impact could it have? But time and time again, I see it having an outsized measure of impact on these collection pages. So if you're like, hey, I want to optimize my collection pages, the number one thing you should do, get a collection description on those pages. It'll really, really pay off for you. So beyond collection description, there's 2 other bits of content that are really high impact. One is the collection SEO title. This is the bit that shows up in the browser tab and in the Google search results when you search and it says like, hey, here's your site. Here's the blue link. The SEO title is really, really impactful as well. You could think of it as sort of being like the headline on a newspaper article. So, you're scanning the front page of the New York Times or whatever you read and you're like, oh, let me read that headline. Well, if the headline is short and it just says stuff, you're going to be like, I don't know what this article is about. I don't know if I want to read it. And likewise, if your SEO title on your page just says gifts or just says chocolate, that's pointing in the right direction, sure. But a customer's going to be like, I don't know what this is. It just says gifts. Do I trust it? Do I click it? And Google will say like, oh, you just say gifts here. Is this about chocolate gifts? Is this about holiday gifts? Is this about gift cards? What's this about? And so the more specificity you could include in that SEO title in the search engine listing box at the bottom of your collection page, the more helpful it'll be for Google. That, again, is like the headline on the newspaper article that is your collection page. And so it'll just help Google be like, oh, this is about gourmet chocolate bonbons. We got you. The 3rd bit of content I'll call out is the collection title, and what I'll often refer to as the page headline. It's that little bit of text that shows up at the top of the collection page, above the product grid and above the collection description. And that's also high impact because Google, when they read pages, sort of emulates a human. They read from the top down. And so when you have a headline near the top of your collection page, it's a little more impactful for SEO. It helps Google orient and say like, oh, this headline helps me understand what this is about. So if you have a collection title or a headline of just, again, gifts, it's a little challenging for your customer or visitor or for Google to understand like, okay, well, what is this page about? What type of gift? And so a little more specificity there helps. And so if as you work on your collection pages, you optimize adding a collection description, writing a more specific SEO title, and writing a little more specific headline, man, you're really optimizing in the right direction there. It often feels like it's just a tiny bit of work. I adjusted this headline. But Google really likes collection pages ranking for these categorical terms and giving them what they're looking for. A collection description, an SEO title, and a headline helps. That's not everything you could do to optimize a collection page, but that's definitely the efficient 80-20. Anything I could clarify or better explain about that, Mallory?
So how do people know if all of these changes that they've made have been working? Because I know if you're working directly with somebody, like you mentioned, this client that you took from second page of Google all the way to the top, right? But if they're trying to do things themselves, how do they know what's working?
Good question. And that's almost like the invisible side of SEO. Like we created this content, we published this stuff, help. What I love is this free tool from Google called Google Search Console. It's free. You could install it on your Shopify site. It contains a ton of data in it. I joke, not often a joke, that it's like taking your car into the mechanic and getting one of those very long multi-page readouts. Like there's a ton here and I don't know what it means. But one very impactful, very clear portion of Search Console is the search performance report. And that shows you, for the time frame you select, a breakdown of the keywords you're ranking for, any clicks you've received, the number of impressions, the number of views that result had, and your current position. So what I'll often do is use Search Console for my reporting on SEO projects. And the way I'll do it is maybe we optimize a collection like our chocolate gifts collection. Well, implement this content. Hey, we needed a collection description. Oh, we needed a better SEO title. I'll get those changes in. Then I'll look in Search Console right about the time I implement those changes to get a baseline. Hey, we were ranking 30th. Then I'll come back a few weeks later. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 8. It could be any amount. It depends how often you want to check on this. Then I'll look at that specific page again and see, okay, is it going up? Is it getting an increase in clicks or impressions? Is it ranking higher for the specific query that I wanted to optimize for? Again, if we're orienting it towards, say, chocolate bonbons, we'd want to see an increase in ranking or clicks for that chocolate bonbons query. So Search Console is just great to close that loop and be able to understand, okay, we made these changes to this page and we're seeing this increase in performance. We're ranking 10 spots higher for that keyword and we got another 30 clicks this month. So that really is how you could close the loop and understand, I made these changes to this collection page. It had this impact on my business. And then there's one other free tool I'll recommend. There's an SEO tooling company, Ahrefs. They're a great company. They've been around for years, and they actually have a free plan of their Ahrefs plan, and it's called Ahrefs Free Webmaster Plan, and it's pretty nifty. What it does is you create an account for free, and you verify that you have access to a site by connecting through Google Search Console. So you want to make sure you have Google Search Console. And then you're able to get Ahrefs insights into your domain specifically, not any competitors, not anybody you're researching, but you're able to see, okay, here's your Search Console data reflected in Ahrefs. Here's gains, here's losses, here's keywords you're ranking for. It's a great free way to look at this data. It does leverage a lot of Search Console, but it's a great way just to robustify your, analysis and your tracking here. So it's another free option that I definitely recommend for folks that want to explore it.
Is there anything final that people should really know about collections in Shopify and things that they should be doing or even not doing?
You want to link to your collection. So you create some new collections, and then maybe you link to them in your navigation menu. And that's absolutely fine and perfect. But what is additionally impactful is what's called an editorial link. And that's when you, in the page content, maybe it's a blog post, maybe it's an article, maybe it's a collection description, maybe it's a product description, but you go in and you say, oh, I'm going to add a link here pointing to this collection. I'm going to add an internal link, and it's called an internal link because it points to another internal page on your website, not an external website. So those links are really impactful for SEO. And what I recommend to stores who are creating more collections is, hey, if you're writing blog posts, start including links to your collection. So whenever you publish a blog post, if you're mentioning a product or a new collection line, link to that collection, link to that product, aim to link to 2 to 4 collections in each blog post. Google follows those internal links. They act as a vote of confidence for your collections. And so it all just helps the SEO health of your website improve. So the final tip I'd share is make sure you're including internal links to these collections, linking to them from your blog posts. It will really, really pay off.
Links are such a huge part of SEO. And I know, if people sometimes get so caught up on backlinks, which are those very important links from other websites to our site, right? But internal links are also so important. And I always describe this analogy of, say that you're constructing a brand new neighborhood. Like I was in an area near my mom's house and they're popping up new neighborhoods left and right. But if you build all of these houses, you have to build roads for those new houses so they can get back to the grocery stores and schools and all of those things. And links are like roads for the internet, right? Whether they're links out to other websites or links within, all of your own little like web of your website pages.
No, that's spot on. I love that as an analogy. And you're right. Like if you don't have links between your pages, if you don't have sidewalks between your neighborhoods, you could struggle it out. Your visitor could be like, okay, I got to hit back 15 times and start on the home page and go there again. And like you can make it work, but it's not a pleasant experience. And adding those links, I think of them like happy paths as well, or desire paths, like, oh, people just walked halfway across this park because that's the most efficient path. Well, you want to have an efficient path for your visitor. And so if like they're on a blog post talking about your best chocolate gifts, include those links to those collection pages just so they could be like, oh yeah, these bonbons sound great. Click, and then they're there.
Well, if somebody was to want to hire you to help them with their Shopify SEO, how would they get in touch with you?
I recommend they go to doubleyourecommerce.com. It's my website, and they could reach out to me there. I'm also lightly active on Twitter, or X as it's known these days, as Kai S. Davis, not X Davis, Kai S. Davis. And yeah, you could shoot me a message on Twitter. You could reach out to me through my website. But yeah, I always love talking with merchants and just learning what you're up to. And if you're looking for SEO help, that's absolutely something we could chat about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kai.